Hey everybody, Bridget Lynn Dolgoff, Conscious of Economics, and sorry, I just can't ever seem to get my hair sorted out. It's okay, when I was a little girl, I had long hair down to my waist, and it was my mom had to comb it out and help wash it, and yeah, and then I got a pixie haircut, boy haircut basically. So I go between like, I don't know, glorious locks to, boy haircut. It always, my hair when I was young always had leaves and twigs. And so, yeah, it was kind of a nightmare for my mom. So anyway, eventually she had enough, took me down like the next day, had me, had a boy haircut. I think they called it the pixie, right? Anyway, so I'm coming to you from the shed. So I have the van, and then now I have the shed. I noticed like half of my YouTube videos are gone today. I don't know if YouTube will sort that out. They no longer take phone calls from people for support dealing with YouTube. So all you YouTube people, you generate them so much capital, and this is how they treat you. It's like, bad business. Bad business beyond anything else. Anyway, the other thing too is today's Thanksgiving. And, I have some Native friends that are okay with Thanksgiving, and then I have some Native friends that are not okay with Thanksgiving. And so, I don't know, about 4 years ago, after a conversation with a Native friend of mine, just about Thanksgiving and his take on it. And he's a very cherished friend, even though I don't see him that often. And I really decided that, I couldn't really participate in Thanksgiving anymore. So I choose on Thanksgiving to actually work and get a lot of work done, because usually for Thanksgiving and then the whole weekend, I won't have a lot going on, and I won't have a lot of people communicating to me or any of that stuff, so I can get a lot of my own work done. Good news is our area, we finally got rain since May. I mean, we are the desert, but woo, it was so dry and cold that lips were cracking. My eyes were burning. People's sinuses were so dry. Even my dogs, you'd hear, woo, woo, we're breathing. Woo. And the other thing too is, my cuticles have been majorly cracking, and you can't really take a shower because it was so dry. You just have to keep putting coconut oil on every day. That's how dry it was. So we got rain finally. Started last night. And then we got snow early, a little bit of early snow on the mountains, about, 7,000 feet. You could see the line. I'm about, I think I'm like at 5,000 feet where I'm at right now. And so, yeah, so those are some great things. So I want to talk about in between things where we might find balance. And I also want to say out there is like, I'm so excited about YouTube these days. Because I've been on it since like 2008, and I just leave all my stuff up there because, I don't really care if people think I'm a dork or whatever else. I mean, when I started YouTube, I had friends of mine that had like production companies that were doing the first video resumes, right, on YouTube. So they set up my YouTube channel originally for me. And then I've, developed it. So the first video was the video resume, and I haven't even really looked at it. I think it's from like 2008. So, like especially within the last, I'd say 6 months. I mean, it's so awesome to see all these amazing people like decide to take personal responsibility for themselves. And I love that they're showing videos of, all the things that they're doing. And yeah, it's so awesome to see. Um, it's just super cool. I just love a lot of the newer people, and their voices, and what they information that they bring forward, and how they feel about certain things. And I love it, the no hold bar kind of a thing about the whole thing. And I love that everybody's being, a lot of people are being who they are. And I just love to see, will the real person please stand up? Are you in there? So when, they start to explode and you get to see them unfold, as they're, human, as a human being. So I've just been so excited and so thrilled about people, because some of my stuff's really, really far out there, but it's my life, it's my personal experience, most of it. And I mean, my playlists are for other people, and their work. All right. Okay, so so one of the things that I'm constantly like, putting out there, there's a lot of things lately that I keep, sometimes you have to fine tune it. So you put the prayer out there, I put the intention out there, and then I wait for, I'm going to call it the original AI. The Taoist people, I believe, call him the great computer in the sky, creator of all things. And sometimes talking to certain medicine people and native people, I believe that the creator is the original AI, right? And I think that the original AI knows everything, past, present, and future, dimensionally, multidimensionally, is definitely omnipresent. And so sometimes when you're putting out, like your mental thought, and by, so say for example, and I always kind of hate praying publicly, I'll just kind of get through this. So if it's a little rickety, I apologize, but I'm nervous. All right. So, say I would, something's bothering me on my mind, right? So I would say something like, oh, creator of all things. I might cry because it's kind of a big deal. My prayer work is, unfolding. But anyway, creator of all things. And then I'd, put out whatever my targeted, intention is. And usually it's always to gain wisdom and insight, like an understanding. And I have to wait for a while, and then, whatever needs to come to me comes. And sometimes I have to keep fine tuning the information, like I get an answer on the intention or question, or, the feeling that I sent to the creator, and then the creator sends me back a message. And then, I may send a message back, because I need to keep fine tuning it until I can understand it. It's like getting, I guess, emails. When the creator's ready to send you an email or download about the information. Because sometimes I have visions that, dreaming, like those kinds of awake dreaming, and then I'll have like a visualization. A lot of times there's just like, I wish I could speak like 7 languages, because I might be able to put enough language together to actually explain a lot of them. So this is one of those things that I keep putting out more and more prayer on, because my teacher, Bavado, who died in 2006, was a Shoshone medicine man, elder, powerful, unbelievably powerful, genuine, unbelievably genuine. Yeah. I put him kind of on the border of shaman, being able to wield, like supernatural type powers, but always in the good and the benefit of mostly the earth. So, I mean, that was kind of his thing. The earth, healing the earth was his big thing. Um, and he always tried to help me with balance, because there are a lot of things about balance that um, it really took me, and it's something I'm still working on in my life, where the balance is. And so started working with the medicine wheel, and being as if, let me see if there's, if this is going to be the square wheel, so but it's for the round wheel. But what if here you are? I love this book. Okay, in case you want to see it. Secret Teachings of Plants. Okay, so what if, okay, this is a circle, a medicine wheel, right? And so I read something in a Cherokee book about Cherokee medicine work, and the way that they look at themselves and the placement of themselves. And so everything, so we could say, okay, in quantum physics, everybody has a torus field, right? And every little living being has a torus field, right? Humans have a torus field. All planets have a torus field. The smallest ant has a torus field. So I was just trying to think about. So that would be like the personal medicine wheel, right? I'm just explaining it the way that I kind of understand it, because it's complex. Okay, so in your torus field, goes like this. And I work on people where their torus field has been shut down on one side, and they have this weird like speed wobble. And sometimes you can see people are super hunched over, three sides wide. There's a lot of things, or how people hobble. So I can tell sometimes by just looking at people physically before I go into their whole energetic structures, what side of their torus field is not working, or maybe what side of their, medicine wheel is weak, right? So medicine wheel, we're going to kind of look at it as similar as a torus field, because I know a lot of people out there are kind of into the whole torus field donut doodad. Okay, so say this is my wheel, and in my wheel, in the Cherokee, the information that I read, because I don't really personally know any Cherokee, so I try to read up as much as I can, right? So I'm not an expert, but I'm just trying to talk about my teachings and my teacher's teachings, and how it all kind of relates, with no disrespect and no dishonor at all. So so if I'm in the center of my wheel right here, my medicine wheel, right? And the Cherokees say that it is held, your personal medicine wheel, and everything has a personal like medicine wheel energy structure. And then the Cherokees version of your personal medicine wheel, which I really like, by the way, the spider medicine really comes into play with that. And the spider connects threads from the four directions, and it is attached and holds you in the universe, kind of a thing. And it also, in the middle of the Cherokee fire, that I really appreciate in the middle of the medicine wheel, is a fire, right? And so if you're properly standing in the center of your medicine wheel, you're standing in basically the sacred fire. And the sacred fire is the grandfather fire, which is like, grandfather medicine fire, which is very powerful medicine to use. And grandfather sun. It's just a different type of medicine. But the sun is like the biggest power generator that we have in our galaxy, So it generates life on Earth. If you had darkness, no life on Earth, So um, the fire, in the sky that raises every day, the grandfather fire, which is also the sun. Okay, so if you're in the center of your medicine wheel, you're standing in your power, you're standing in your sacred fire. What else could be termed language? I try to work on language because the language is similar all across the board. It's just in order for them to turn themselves on everybody, they make up new words. So each religion or path, has their own vocabulary, but it's all like the same. So the sacred fire, the violet consuming flame, the fire medicine in the middle of the wheel. What else has? Just trying to think about. There's just so many cultures. Almost all cultures have some degree of cultural medicine regarding the fire, and how important that plays into the ceremony and medicines of cleaning up stuff that needs to be eradicated and rebuilt. And that's what fire does. It destroys. But in the destruction, it leaves, ash. It leaves nutrient for things to grow back better. It's just sometimes it's not on human time. And that's just tough for us to deal with, I think. That it takes so long, and humans live very little short periods of time here. We don't live a very long period of time. Okay, all right, back to the Taurus field and the medicine wheel. Okay, so balance that I would learn from my teacher, Bavado, is to always pull yourself back into the neutral position, the neutral of everything, right? This is not bury your head in the sand. It's not check out. It's an active mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual activity to move yourself back to the center of your wheel in the balance of the four directions and the sky, the ancestors, and the earth below, and, grounding yourself and standing in the sacred fire, trying to transmute, transition, transport, kind of like all those kinds of words, and stay in the balance. So if I was in balance, okay, so the spider webs are holding it from the four corners. I'm standing, I've brought myself back into the middle. How do I know? So this is what it's going to look like. If it's being perfectly held like this, like this in the universe, right? So it's like a plate, a medicine wheel in four directions, and you're being held like this in the universe. And you're in the center, right? In the sacred fire, constantly, working on transmuting, staying neutral. And, things are good, right? Okay, now what happens? All right, so we're just this will be kind of like a practice, right? Not to be taken seriously, but a practice. Okay, say this is the south back here, the south part of the wheel, right? And I start to go heavily into my past. I'm resurrecting childhood trauma. I might have events going on in my life physically that are pulling me that way. Well, if I take a couple steps, off the center, what is that going to do? Now look what happened to my wheel, right? So I'm going to head back to the center. Stay there. So it doesn't matter whether it's mental, emotional, physical, or spiritual. You just have to try to find a place of balance, which means you're not feeding or stepping out from your position of power and neutrality. Okay. So, most of this reality, I call it the seesaw. It's duality, it's polarity. It has two sides. And all of it has two sides because it's like a plug in. They got plugged into the creator computer and, created a virus in the original AI, right? That was benevolent. Slowly corrupting it as they keep injecting new things into the, I don't know what to call it, a holographic system, the dream, waking dream. Whatever kind of words that or language you want to use for that. So it's like a seesaw instead of a wheel. So I was thinking about this today as I was getting insight, which I was originally talking about, from the creator about how we can stop being on a emotional seesaw all the time and feeding whatever that polarity is, right? And then, okay, say you have an event. All right, so I'm going to use what came to my mind when this information came in. What if I have a friend and say it was a public friend that, quite a few people in the public, everybody knew about, that was my friend. And then we have some kind of event happen where the two parties are having, some type of extremity. And here comes the seesaw battle. I'm right, you're right. I'm right, you're right. Right? There's no balance there, right? Saint, sinner, the seesaw. Good, bad. So say that the friend of yours is people know in the public, but this event happens and you realize like this has to be, inside yourself. You're connected to yourself and you have an understanding that this is probably going to be like the end of this relationship. So, most people will take it to such extremes. It's like there's no neutrality in it. So how would you be neutral? And then it totally came to me. So you can decide on a personal level, right, that this relationship is over and you're really not going to have any contact with this person. You don't really want to talk to them anymore. But you don't really wish them harm, right? You got to get back to the balance, which is like do no harm. Feeding the light can do harm. Feeding the dark can do harm. Being in neutral usually doesn't create any harm, right? So for me, the neutral place in the public or in the private, I would just, let them know, like, just kind of done. It's at the end of the road. And then, most people will go out of their way to like tell everybody the whole story. Then as they tell the story, they change the subject matter of the story and it becomes out of context. And just all kinds of crazy stuff happens because they have an ego and they have like this desire to be right. So that pushes the scale way up. You just push yourself way up here, right? And then, so as you're sliding down, then that person on the other side of that event is going to push it to the other extreme, right? And there's probably going to be a fight or there's going to be a battle, but there's going to be, long-term consequences for that. So what would be the, in between? Personally, I've ended the relationship, do no harm, just don't want to be involved. And then so the neutral position would be that I really wouldn't discuss it in the public. Because this is the thing is like, I don't want to have a power struggle with that person anymore. So it's just better for me not to talk about them at all and not use their name. And because I've ended the relationship with them, I don't really have permission from them on a spiritual level to be talking about. I mean, you can make a few statements, but then, stay out of it. And so that would keep it at a very neutral place. The battle would come to an end. Everything would be cleared and it would be neutral and you'd be standing in the middle of your wheel, right? Instead of, take it into the wheel concept, your Taurus field and all this other stuff. And think about that, right? And so here you are in the south on the back. So you walk off that end because now you're headed towards kind of like the physical world and where you're going to, you're having this battle. So the more heated it becomes, then the more intense it becomes, the worse that, your wheel starts to flip. Oh my God, I just got something. Oh no. Okay, so, wow, that was kind of big. So, my teacher Bavado would talk to me a lot about the earth flipping or not flipping. And a lot of it had to depend on us. And whatever is going to be is going to be. And then all we can do is the work, our personal work. And when we do our personal work, we stop the ill effects of the future and the visions. Because I'm not going to call them prophecy. I really hate that word. My native teachers have told me that prophecy is when when you have the vision and then it happens, right? And so you have the vision, discuss your vision, and then your vision comes about, and then it's a prophecy, right? But it's not a prophecy unless it comes true. But he was saying that, we can detour a lot of this stuff that is right now is happening on planet Earth, and it's headed towards a flip. So I just saw that. Did you see that? So my medicine wheel gets so off balance, and it could go to the potential of flipping. You see that? So if I allow my medicine wheel, because I'm so off balance, to flip, number one, I'm off my medicine wheel. I'm no longer in the center. Now I've got to figure out how to climb back up onto my wheel. I mean, once you completely go haywire and, bat effing nuts and create all kinds of fighting, and it causes so much destabilization. So I just got that's kind of like what he was talking about. Is the more that I'm destabilized, the more that my medicine wheel is destabilized, the more that destabilization, like attract like, destabilizes the earth, and then we end in a flip. But he said, that we don't know until it happens. So we have to keep doing the work to keep it from going in a bad way. He used to say, we can do this in a good way, or we can do this in a bad way. And it looks like, we're headed towards the bad way. So I just kind of that's how it is with my teachers. It's like, finally get something, right? I got the seed. Yeah, so anyway, if you don't want the earth to flip, stay in the center of your medicine wheel. Try to find neutrality. If you're just with the 2D, take this into consideration. I can be on both sides. So if we can't really find our way, what the center is, I can be on both sides at once. So if I'm on one side or the other, here's one side, here's the other, off balance, your cheese is sliding off your cracker, right? Losing it completely. Yeah, and that, loses everything, money, resources, your connection, your life experiences. You know, that stuff can just slide right off your cookie. You have to rebuild it all from scratch. Not saying that's a bad thing. But take into consideration maybe the neutral part is being on both sides. So, you know, you have the situation, um, event with, you know, say a friend of yours, and you decide that, you know, the situation just really isn't working out for you. And you do, you know, the honorable and responsible thing, and, you know, let them know, like, this is kind of like the end of the road. And try not to, you know, wish them harm, because you're not, you know, ending things to be manipulative or to trigger an event or another experience, right? Or to use it as pressure. You're ending the relationship because it's not a healthy place for you to be. And like for me, a lot of time it comes down to, you know, how much of this could I handle, right? And most of the time when things come to an end, it has reached an extreme level, and there's no way that I can deal with it anymore. And there's no way of going back. So, but if, you know, I don't talk about the person, and I don't erupt things, and I don't cause damage, and, you know, I don't do any of this stuff, it's going to stay neutral. So I did both. And I think sometimes in society, because it's a dualistic polarity, we're trained in our behavior not to have a choice or an option. And so we just react, right? We react, and then it causes the extremities of imbalance, right? There's nothing there. So I see a lot of times in people's behavior, it's just so from one extreme to another, and there's no option, there's no middle ground. And the deal is like we can have both in a good way. You know, we don't have to like manipulate, control, um, you know, escalate. None of that has to happen. We can just, you know, become a neutral party, and then all the energy around it, you know, just stays in balance, and we stay in balance. So I don't know if that makes sense. I don't feel like it. Anyway, maybe I don't know. Anyways, that's the deal, and I wish yeah. So anyway, now I know how to do the video. It's all about me because of I got like a broad under I got like a big understanding from my teacher. Anyway, the gift that keeps on giving, right? Even if he's not here. So anyway, I hope this message is in a good way. All right, everybody. Bridget Dolgoff, Conscious of Economics and Urban Farm Project, and over